As you know, Shabab, chapter 5 is about the trigonometric functions using right triangles. So today is the real start of this chapter, because we will talk about the trigonometry of right triangles. What we mean here by the trigonometric ratios are, these are three of the trigonometric ratios, what they are, and how to evaluate them for some special triangles and special angles. And at the end, inshallah, we will apply these to see some problems that can be solved by using right triangles. First of all, what we have here is two right triangles. Why they are right triangles? Because this angle is right angle. You know the right angle is 90 degrees. So this is 90 degrees, or pi over 2. Now, what you look here, if you try, Shabab, to find the ratio between the sides, if you are trying to find the ratio between the sides of the triangle, let's say the ratio between this side and this side, it is what? It is 3/5. If you divide this side by this side, you have 3/5. This is a ratio. Look at this also. Look at this bigger triangle. And if you try to find the ratio also between this and this, what you will have? It will be 30/50. If you simplify, it will be 3/5, the same. Even this triangle is bigger, but the ratio between these two sides is still the same. Why this is happening? What do you think? Why this is happening?
I think because الزوايا متساوية.
The sides are not the same. What is common? What is in common between them? You are right. What is in common between them? Both of them are right. Both of them are right triangle.
And some of the all angles has
the same angle, the same theta. Let's take this one. Let's take this triangle and draw it here. Look, if you put it there, look, here it is. So what we did, we just enlarge, and whatever you will extend this, whatever you will extend it, the ratio will be the same. There is a ratio, the ratio between this and this, it will be constant. It will be always the same. It will not never ever change, even if you went to the space, to the moon with this line. And of course, you find the ratio. And this is what the people, the ancient people used to find the distance, to approximate, of course, the distance from here to the moon, to the sun, and so on, by using these ideas. Now, what is Ya Shabab common between them is that they have the same theta. So what we conclude from this, that the trigonometric ratios, the ratio between this and this side, and also between this and this and this and that, depend only on theta, on the angle. If I change the angle, if I put the angle to be bigger like this, of course, the ratio will be changed. So as we have the same angle, we will have the same ratio. So it is about what? It is about theta. So because it is about theta, we will give this ratio a name related to theta. So what they call it? They call it sine theta, sine theta. And we just write it with the first three letters, but we don't read it sin, we read it sine, or sine, like this. So sine theta, regardless the size of the triangle, it is 3/5. The ratio at the end will be 3/5 in its simpler form. To make it easier to calculate the other ratios, we will give the sides of the triangle, we will give them names. So if this is theta, this will be the opposite, because it is corresponding to theta. So this is why we call it the opposite. Now this one, we will call it the adjacent. Why it is the adjacent? You know what is the meaning of adjacent. It is adjacent because it is next to theta. It is a neighbor of theta. And this one that is corresponding to the right triangle, it is called hypotenuse. So opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Which one is the bigger one, Ya Shabab, always? Which will be always the bigger one? The hypotenuse. Why? Why the hypotenuse always is the bigger?
Because it's front to the big angle.
Because it is corresponding to the bigger angle. What is the bigger angle in a right triangle? Of course, Ya Shabab, you know that the sum of the, if this is theta, if this is 90 degrees, for sure this one and this one both cannot be 90. They are less than 90. Because the sum of the angles of any triangle is what? If you have any triangle,
180.
Yeah.
if you have any triangle drawn in the plane, not on a sphere or something else, no, in a plane, the sum, if this is alpha, this is beta, this is gamma, then alpha plus beta plus gamma equals to 180 degrees, or in other words, equals to pi in the in terms of radians. Do you know why, ya shabab, it is equals to 180? Can you show that if someone asks you to do? It is so easy. Look, draw a line here. What is this angle? This angle is beta. Do you know that? When you have two parallel lines, if you draw a line like this, then this angle is the same as this angle. And this one is what? This one is gamma by the same way. So now this is, ya shabab, right? This is straight angle. What is the measure of the straight angle? Also this one. What is the measure of the straight angles, ya shabab?
180.
100. So alpha plus beta plus gamma equals to 180. So easy. So always, ya shabab, always the bigger one is the hypotenuse. Okay. Now what about if I have another angle here, alpha? Let me call here this angle is alpha. If alpha is here, or let me draw another. Let that one be there. So if I have now an angle like this, and my angle is here. Now where will be the opposite? Of course, this will be the hypotenuse. This will be the hypotenuse, always, because it is corresponding to the right triangle. Now where will be the opposite? The opposite will be this one, because it is corresponding. And this will be the adjacent. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what was this, ya shabab? This was the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is sine theta. So we can define in general sine theta to be the opposite over the hypotenuse. And this is what we have here. This is the definition of the trigonometric ratios. The opposite over the hypotenuse, it is called sine theta. The adjacent over the hypotenuse, it is called cosine. And you know what is co used for, ya shabab. They are co for each other. They have something in common. So what is it? We will see that later. We will call them common functions. How to read it, ya shabab? Don't read it cos. We read it cosine. Here, just shortly we write it cos, but we read it cosine. Tangent, this is also tan, but we read it tangent. You can sometimes use that, no problem, but it is preferred to be tangent. What is tangent? It is opposite over adjacent, opposite over adjacent. And by the way, if you divide sine by cosine, we will see that later, you will have tangent, because this will be cancelled and you will have opposite over adjacent. What else? Cotangent. Cotangent is the adjacent over opposite, which is the reciprocal of this. Look, it is the opposite. Here, opposite over adjacent. Here, adjacent over opposite. And the secant will be hypotenuse over adjacent, which is, by the way, the reciprocal of this. This is adjacent over hypotenuse. This is hypotenuse over adjacent. What we call this? We call this cotangent. Cotangent. We call this secant. Secant. Don't read it sec, ya shabab. No one is sec, inshallah. Secant. And the last one is cosecant. This is cosecant. But usually they omit, of course, this O and this E, and they just write it as CSC. Cosecant. How to read it? How to read them? It is here, shabab. Let's take an example. Find the 6 trigonometric ratios of this angle theta. Now let's start with sine. What is sine theta?
2 over 3.
This is the opposite. It is 2 over 3. Okay. Now, what is cosine? It is square root of 5 over 3. Now, what is tangent? It is 2 over square root of 5, which of course can be rationalized to be 2 square root of 5 over 5 if you want to rationalize it, but it's okay. Now, what is cotangent? Cotangent, it is the opposite. It is the reciprocal. It is square root of 5 over 2. What you notice here, Shabab, that cotan theta, it is 1 over tan theta. It is the reciprocal of tan theta. Similarly, you can say that tan theta, it is the reciprocal of cotan. Let's find the list, the secant. Secant is what? Secant is the hypotenuse over the adjacent, which is what? If you look at this, secant theta is the reciprocal of cosine theta. Similarly, cosine theta is the reciprocal of secant theta. If you continue cosecant, it is 3 over 2. Look at this. Also, sine theta and cosecant theta, they are reciprocal of each other, not inverses, reciprocals of each other. Clear? Let's take another example, and this is an interesting example. When you have, of course, one of these ratios and you want to find the other ratios. So what you will do? You have, it is given for you that cosine theta or cosine alpha, this is alpha, cosine alpha is 3 over 4. Then sketch a right triangle with acute angle alpha. Acute, it means between 0 and 90, and then find the other 5 trigonometric ratios. So now, Shabab, when we have cosine alpha equals to 3 over 4, so if we have a triangle, what is this? If this is alpha, so what is given for us?
The opposite of the hypotenuse.
No, not the opposite. The adjacent. This is cosine. The adjacent over the hypotenuse. So this is the opposite, the adjacent over the hypotenuse. The adjacent, we don't know what is it. It is not given for us. So here we are. So this is because cosine alpha, and you know that cosine alpha equals to what? Equals to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So this is the adjacent, this is the hypotenuse, and this is alpha. Now what is missing is this side. Let's call it x. We don't know what is x. How to find it, Shabab? Because if you want to find sine, what will be sine alpha? Sine alpha will be x over 4. This over 4. The opposite over the hypotenuse. What is x? How to find x, ya Shabab? How to find x? Hello?
Cross multiply.
No. How to find x, ya Shabab, from this triangle? What we should use to find x?
Cross multiply.
Pythagorean theorem. We should use Pythagorean theorem, ya Shabab. نظرية فيثاغورس. We should use Pythagorean. Do you remember Pythagorean theorem? If you have a right triangle, and this is A, this is B, this is C, then what? Then C squared equals to A squared plus B squared. The hypotenuse squared equals to the opposite squared plus the adjacent squared. Of course, if you want to find C, C will be the square root of A squared plus B squared. In other words, here we have what? We have what here? X squared plus 3 squared equals to 4 squared. So what is this? X squared equals to 16 minus 9. X squared equals to 7. X equals to positive or negative square root of 7. But we will not take the negative. Why? Because this is length. It is the length of a side. So we will just consider the positive. So this is x. X is square root of 7. Here we are. It is easier, ya Shabab, to remember it like this. X will be square root of this minus this. 4 squared minus 3 squared. Okay? Because by Pythagorean theorem, don't forget that. So here we are. I think I put the details for you here. Yes, it is there. So the details are here. Now we have, ya Shabab, now square root of 7. This is the sine will be square root of 7 over 4. Now what we have also before, what was cosine? Cosine alpha, it was cosine alpha was what? 3 over 4. Now if we have these two ratios, ya Shabab, we have everything. Now What will be tan? Tan will be sine over cosine, by the way. It will be the opposite. It is better to understand it this way. Opposite over adjacent. So the tangent theta will be square root of 7 over 3. The opposite over the adjacent. Cotangent will be the reciprocal of this. Look. It will be the adjacent over the opposite. Secant will be the reciprocal of cosine. Cosecant will be the reciprocal of sine. And because of that, we have these reciprocal identities. Don't forget that. I did write them here like cotangent is 1 over tangent. Also, you can write it as tangent equals to 1 over cotangent. And you can do that also for the rest of this one. How to use a calculator? I think this is so easy. You can use that, but for other courses, of course, not this course. Now, the second part of this section is how to find sine, cosine, tangent, and others for some spatial triangles or for some special angles. These are the well-known angles, ya shabab, that we need to know what is their cosine, what is their sine. We have them here in degrees, we have them here in radians. Okay? So what we need to focus on these, especially, of course, I think this is, let's say the 5, all of them, the 5 angles are important. You need to memorize this table like your name. How to help you to do that, shabab? Let's start with 45 because it is the most easier one. Let's start with 45. If we have a square, let's say we have a square. Each side of this square is 1. Okay? If we draw it, you know that each angle is right triangle. If we draw a diagonal for this triangle, for this square, what will be the length of this diagonal? Who can tell me? What will be the length of this diagonal?
The root of 2.
The square root of 1 squared plus 1 squared, which will be 2. And this is the first time that, ya shabab, they realize that there is a irrational number, square root of 2. So now this is square root of 2. And this, of course, because we divide this into 2 parts, this angle is 45. This angle is 45. Okay? Now, this is the triangle that I'm talking about, ya shabab. This one is here. Let's go here now, ya shabab. What is sine 45? From here or from here, it is up to you, Taman. I just wanted to remove this. This is square root of 5. What is sine 45 degrees from the triangle? This is 2, not 5. It is the opposite over the adjacent, the hypotenuse. It is 1 over square root of 2. Similarly, cosine 45 is 1 over square root of 2. You can rationalize these to write them like this. And this is the only angle, ya shabab, the only angle that its sine and its cosine are the same. And because of that, its tan also will be the opposite over the adjacent. It will be 1 over 1, it will be 1. Look, also its cotan will be 1. And this is just the reciprocal, ya shabab. When you take the reciprocal of this, you will get cosecant. The reciprocal of this will give you secant. So this is why this is the easier one, ya shabab. Because its sine is the same as its cosine. Is it clear? Let me go to the another triangle or another spatial triangle. This one. From where it comes, ya shabab? Imagine that we have here equilateral triangle. What is the equilateral triangle? When you have all the sides are the same. Let's assume for simplicity that this is 2, this is 2, this is 2. All of the sides are the same. Now, what will be the angles, ya shabab, of this triangle? All of them will be what? 60, because the sides are the same. Also, the angles will be the same. Now, draw a bisector here. Draw a bisector that divide this triangle into 2 equal triangles. And now each angle here will be 30. 30 triangle, 30 degrees. And also each side here will be 1. This will be 1, this will be 1. This 2 will be divided into. Now let's focus on one of them. Let's focus on this. Okay. what will be, let's erase this. Now what will be this, ya shabab? By Pythagorean theorem, what is this? This will be the square root of 4 minus 1 squared 1. It will be the square root of 3. So now here is the triangle, the 30-60 triangle. This 30-60 triangle, it is so easy. It combines these angles together, the 30 with 60. Look, now according to this triangle, what is sine 30, ya shabab? What is sine 30? And this is always what you should think about it at the beginning, because it is the easier one. Sine 30, ya shabab, this is 30. What is the opposite? 1. What is the hypotenuse? 2. So it will be 1 over 2. And by the way, this is the same as cosine 60. Check. This is 60. What is the opposite? For cosine 60, the adjacent over the hypotenuse for 60. Also, cosine 30, what is cosine 30? Cosine 30 is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. This is the same as sine 60. Look, this is 60. What is the opposite? Square root of 3 over the hypotenuse, which is 2. So what is good about these two angles also, they are related to each other. Look, this is 30, this is 60. What is the sine of this? It is the cosine of that one. And the cosine of 30 is the sine of 60. Similarly for the other ratios, the tangent of this is the cotangent of this, and we will call these angles co-angles or co-functions later. For 0 shabab and 90, I prefer to delay that to 6.2. When we study 6.2, it will be very clear for you, inshallah, why this is 0, why the sine of 0 is 0. But let me here explain it to you in an easy way. Can you draw, ya shabab, a zero angle? How it will be? Let's say this is the 0 angle. 0. This angle is 0. And this means, ya shabab, when it is 0, it is like this. The initial side will be the same as the terminal side. So they will be like this. This is the 0 angle. But let's imagine that we enlarge it a little bit. We just enlarge it to have like this. So this is what will be the length of this side, shabab? It will be 0 because there is no. So this means that the opposite is 0. So because the opposite is 0, what will be sine? This will be the same as this, shabab. مثلا لو هذا 2 هذا 2 because they will be identical. So sine will be what? Sine 0 will be what? The opposite, which is 0, over whatever. مثلا over 2, it will be 0. So this is sine 0 is 0. The cosine is 1 because this will be 2 over 2, which will be 1. مثلا, or 1 over 1. For 90s, the idea is quite similar, but the sine will be 1 and the cosine 0 because the adjacent will be 0 in that case. And also, ya shabab, these two functions are co-functions, co-angles. Look, the sine of 0 is the cosine of 90. The cosine of 0 is the sine of 90. Because also we will call them later co-functions, as we will see, inshallah. Now, how to memorize this? Because, ya shabab, it is so important to memorize them. How to memorize them? This is one way. This is 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90 degrees. What you can do, all of them are divided by 2, sine or cosine. Here, you will order them 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 under the square root. Here, you will reverse the order. This will give you, for example, here, we have square root of 0 over 2. It is 0 over 2. It is what? It is 0. Here, for instance, it is square root of 4 over 2. So it is 2 over 2. It is 1. And so on. Or, as I prefer to use them on one root like this. Instead of this table, I prefer to use this. This is 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, reverse. Now, if you want to find, for example, what you want, for example, tell me what you want. For example, 30. What is sine? Here for sine, here for cosine. Sine 30 will be what? Sine 30 will be the square root of what? Of 1 over 2, which is a half. Okay? This is one way. But at the end, ya shabab, you will remember them because you will use them so many times. One more way to make it easier for you to recall these ratios is to use your hand. I don't prefer that because you will look like you are in the first grade or the second grade in the elementary school, but it's okay if it helps you to remember. What is the idea, Shabab? Order your fingers from the right to the left or from the left to the right. It is up to you, but keep it like that. For example, 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. Some of you, they prefer to do the opposite. Now, choose any finger, like this, for example. Let's choose this finger to be 60, which is 60 now. Now, this is 60, Shabab. What is on the right is cosine. What is on the left is sine. Okay, keep this in mind. You start from here, sine, cosine. Now, how many fingers we have here, Shabab? 1. So it will be the square root of 1 over 2, which is a half. So what we say, what we have here, we have cosine 60 equals to a half. Sine 60 will be what? How many fingers we have? We have 3. So it will be the square root of 3 over 2. And this is the way. You can do that also for 45, 43, for whatever. Okay? Is this clear, Shabab? Now, let's go to the last part of this section, which is, of course, the most important part. The applications. To solve a triangle means to determine the length of the 3 sides and the measure of the 3 angles. For example, this is triangle. We have here one angle is given, one side is given. If you have, by the way, if you have 2 things in any triangle, if you have 2 things, you can find the others. If you have 2 sides, you can find everything. You can solve it completely. If you have 2 angles, you can solve it completely, and so on. And the best case, of course, the easier case is when you have an angle and a side. Now, the question is how to find, how to solve this triangle, which means what is A, what is B, what is this angle? For this angle is clear, it is 90. This is the easier one. What is this angle, Shabab?
60.
60. Now, the question is, what is A, what is B? How to find A, Shabab? What we will use to find A? Who can tell me? To find A, what we will use? We need to use this angle and this side. How to use them? This is the hypotenuse, by the way. And for 30, what is this? This is the opposite. And this is the adjacent. So what? How to find A, Shabab?
Can we use cosine?
You can use cosine, you can use sine, you can use tan, whatever, but it is important for you to realize how to use it. Now, what is sine 30, Shabab? And what is cosine 30? Yell.
Sine 30 equal
A, the opposite,
A over 12.
over hypotenuse. So it is A over 12. From here, from this one, we can find what? We can find A. How to find A, Shabab? Just multiply by 12. So A will be equals to 12 sine 30. What is sine 30?
Half.
A half. So this is 6. A is 6. We did find A. Now, how to find B? You can use now a triangle. You can use a Pythagorean theorem because this is now 6. You can use Pythagorean theorem. B will be the square root of 12 minus 6, but all of them are squared. Or use cosine. It is easier. So now cosine 30 will be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So this means that B equals to 12 cosine 30. What is cosine 30? Square root of 3 over 2. How do I know that? If the sine is a half, the cosine will be square root of 3 over 2. So this is why, Shabab, for 30 and 60, you need mainly to remember that sine 30 is a half, just like that, only this. And this will be the cosine of 60. The cosine of 30 will be square root of 3 over 2, which will be the same as sine 60. Just remember this. And here we have 12 over 2 is 6 square root of 3. In general, we can have this. Wherever, Shabab, you have triangle, and this is A, this is B, this is R, this is theta. Sine theta, what will be sine theta? Sine theta will be A over R. Solve this for A, you have this. A will be r sine theta, B will be r cosine theta. Okay? This will make it very easy for you. Now I will give you, Shabab, like 2 to 3 minutes to solve this triangle. What you want to find here, you want to find x, y, and then divide them by square root of 3. Please take a pen and paper and start practice. Please, 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 ya Shabab. I will launch also a polling for you to vote. If you have an answer, you can choose what is the right answer. Start practice, ya Shabab. It is important to decide which one is easier to start with. Is it easier to start with X or with Y? As a hint, ya Shabab, who can give us a hint? What we should start with, finding X or finding Y?
No, finding
Finding X.
Why it is easier? Why it is easier to find X, not Y? الشباب اللي بيقولوا Y, why?
No, it's X.
You can already figure out the angles.
X because we have the numbers, doctor.
Here, look at this triangle. Look at this triangle. We should have right triangle, ya Shabab. Be careful. So this is a right triangle. Now you have one angle and one side, so you can find the other sides, of course. So starting with X is the easier one. Start with X is the easier. Please. If you have X, if you found what is X, tell me what you got. What you will use, ya Shabab? Cosine 30 or sine 30?
Cosine.
Cosine 30, because you have the adjacent. This is the adjacent. So cosine 30 equals to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. From here, you can find what is X. So easy. Multiply, cross multiply, X will be 8 multiplied by cosine 30. And you can, of course, do this at once. What is cosine 30? What is cosine 30?
Root of 3 over 2.
Square root of 3 over 2. You're right. How to remember this, ya Shabab? Remember that sine 30 is a half. This will be, of course, as the same as cosine 60. So cosine 30 will be, of course, the square root of 3 over 2, which will be the same as sine 60. So it is what? 8 over 2 is 4, so it will be 4 square root of 3. If you find it like that, you are lucky. Good, you are right. So this is X, ya Shabab. Now, الشباب اللي قالوا نبدأ بY. How to start with Y, ya Shabab? How to find Y? الشباب اللي قالوا Y. And I asked them, why? Can we say that sine 30, I'm asking now, can we say that sine 30 equals to Y over 8? True or false?
False.
Sine 30 equals Y over 8. True or false?
False.
Yeah, true for the bigger triangle.
True.
Walid, you are true. You said it is true. Who said it is false?
I said.
Abdul Malik?
Yeah.
Why it is false, Abdul Malik?
How is it true? I didn't understand.
How it is false? The opposite. مو هاي 30. هذا الopposite. هذا opposite. وهذا hypotenuse.
Yeah.
It's not right triangle.
This is the answer, ya Faisal. تسلم يا Faisal. This is the answer. يا شباب, this is not a right triangle. لاحظوا الكبير, هذا الكبير يا شباب. This triangle, this one, the bigger one here, this one is not right triangle. So all what we are working on, ya شباب, only when we have, this is not hypotenuse. بما أنه it is corresponding to 45. So it is not hypotenuse in the bigger one. So do not work what we learn. What is the trick that we will learn from this exercise? Never ever do not work on a triangle that is what? That is not a right triangle. Okay? Never ever.
Okay,
So what we should do, we should now work on this triangle. The next step is to work on this triangle. Okay? This is a right triangle, so we can work on it, no problem. Now, who can tell me what is this, ya shabab? Is this Z? Is this Z the same as Z? Is this correct?
Yes.
Yes, because this
Yes,
is
correct.
45, this will be 45. So this is Z, this is Z. Now, can we find Z from this triangle, from this one? Yes, we can. We can use, of course, because I have X now. X is 4 square root of 3. You can use Pythagorean theorem, or you can use sine 30. Sine 30 will be the opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, this is a right triangle. This is a right triangle. So we can say this is opposite. So it is over 8. This means that Z equals to 8 sine 30. And this, of course, he gave you Z here because he wants you to find it. He knows that you need it. Sine 30 is a half. Z is 4. So this is 4, ya shabab. This is 4. Now you can use Pythagorean theorem. This is 4. This is 4. You can find what is this. Y here will be just the square root of 16 plus 16, which will be square root of 32, which is 16 times 2, 4 square root of 2. It will be 4 square root of 2. Or I wanted to learn also how to apply these. So you can do what also? You can use what, ya shabab? Sine or cosine. You can use sine or cosine. Sine, because they are the same. Sine or cosine, they are the same. Sine 45 will be what? Will be the opposite, which is Z, which is 4, over the hypotenuse, which is Y. Now multiply, cross multiply, Y sine 45 will be equals to 4. Y times, what is sine 45? It is 1 over square root of 2, or square root of 2 over 2, you can rationalize it, equals to 4. Multiply both sides by square root of 2, you will have 4 times square root of 2. This is Y, and this is X. Now the last part is what is X dot Y over square root of 3. Let me see the answers. I can see that most of you, of course, obtained the right answer. Let me end and share with you the results. Good. Most of you obtained the right answer. This is very nice, ya shabab. And of course, this will be just 4 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 2 over 3. Now, over what? Over square root of 3. This will be cancelled. 4 times 4 is 16 square root of 2, and the answer is A. Now, shabab, the last part of this section is about having fun, okay? Angles of elevation or depression. This is, of course, the main part of this section was about the ratios, and this is the second most important. But if you understand what we did in this, for example, triangle, inshallah, it will be so easy for you to do what we have here. So let's have fun, ya shabab, and find the differences between these two pictures. What we have here, shabab, we have a lady, let's call it the observer. We have here a lady that looks up to an object that is above the horizon, above the horizontal line. So this is the horizon, ya shabab. And let's say it is the x-axis, like, to make it much easier for you. So this is, ya shabab, the horizontal line, the horizon. Here, when you are looking at something upper than the horizontal line, you the line, by the way, the line from the eyes of the observer to the object being observed, it is called the line of sight. So this is the definition of the line of sight. The line from the eye to the observer to the object being observed is called the line of sight. If it is above, if the line of sight is above the horizontal line, we have this angle, and we will call it angle of elevation. If the line of sight is below, so when the something that you are looking at is below the horizontal line, we have angle that is called the angle of depression. This angle called angle of depression. When we have angle of depression, when the line of sight is below the horizontal line. The full definition is here, shabab, for both angles. Let me make it clear for you here. So what is important for you here, shabab, to have? When we have angle of depression, what you can notice, when we have angle of depression or angle of elevation, what is in common? There is something in common between them. What is it? What is the something that is in common between them? One side of them, ya shabab, must be what? Horizontal. One of the sides must be horizontal. Let me ask you this. Forget about this now for a while. Let me ask you this question, ya shabab. Is this angle of elevation or depression? So the observer is here now. He's looking up. Is this angle of elevation or depression?
Elevation.
Elevation, ya shabab. This is angle of elevation. What about this? The observer is here. Is this angle of depression or angle of elevation? Depression. This is angle of depression because we have horizontal line and he's looking down. This is the line of sight. This is the line. Now, what about this? The observer is here. Is this angle of depression or angle of elevation?
Maybe elevation.
No, it is none. Why? What
There is
about
no horizontal line.
There is no horizontal line. Allah yarham walidayk. Yes, there is no horizontal line here. Also here, ya shabab, is this angle of elevation or angle of depression? This one also, it is none. Why it is none? Because there is no horizontal line. Always, ya shabab, when we have angle of depression or angle of elevation, we must have horizontal line, one of its sides. I wish that this is clear because this is a common mistake I have noticed for many students. So don't say angle of elevation or angle of depression unless you have one of its side is a horizontal line, the x-axis, like, for example. Let's take an example, and it is a very interesting one. We have here a giant redwood tree cast a shadow of 532. Don't worry about the English, shabab. It is a few words, you will be aware, familiar with them, inshallah. So here we have, don't try to draw a tree and so on, a giant or red or blue. No. This is the ground. We have a tree here. For us, the tree is just a vertical line. Just draw a vertical line like this. This is a tree. So what is this? What is this 532? It is what? A giant redwood tree cast a shadow. So this is the shadow of, let's say this is the shadow of the tree. 532. So since the shadow is here, it means that the sun is here. Find the height of the tree. So we need to find, let's call it h. So we need to find h, the height of the tree. Find the height of the tree if the angle of elevation, we have angle of elevation of the sun is 25. What is the angle of elevation? If we are here, this is the ground. If we are here and the sun is here. So how to draw the angle of elevation from our eyes to from our point to the sun? Like this. This is the line of sight. So this is the angle of elevation. Okay. You can call it whatever, but here it is given, it is 25.7. So, ya shabab, this is the line, this is the point, the angle of elevation. It will be the same, whatever you will draw a horizontal line to the sun, always this angle will be the same. So this angle is 25.7, okay? So when we solve such type of problems, we should look, ya shabab, for a right triangle, because this is a tree, it is vertical. So we have this right triangle now. If we don't have right triangles, we cannot work. Okay? For a moment, we can work later while using other laws. Now, how to find a shabab h? Who can tell me? How to find h? This is now, if you translate this from English to a figure, khalas, you solve it. Now use your previous skills. So what we should use? Tangent or secant, sine, whatever. What?
Tangent.
Tangent what? Tangent 25, tangent 25.7 equals to what? The opposite over the adjacent. It will be h over 532. We will give you a shabab angles that you know how to evaluate. But for this one, for example, you need a calculator. But the idea is the same. For example, if this is 45, if this is 30, 60, whatever. The idea is how to do it in the right way. The detailed solution is here. And of course, as I said, for this one, you need a calculator, but we will not give you questions with a calculator. The strategy, ya shabab, for solving such kind of problems is what? Sketch a diagram, sketch a figure, okay? Then label, of course, your variables, your unknowns, your what you want. Then use this sketch to write an equation that relates these quantities with your variable, and then solve it. Let's take another example. The another example here we have a ground from a point on the ground. Let's say this point. From a point on the ground, 500 feet from the base of a building. So we have a building here. So you should, ya shabab, translate sentence by sentence. Stop here. Let's revise it. From a point on the ground, 500 feet from the base of a building. So this is the base of the building. So from, it means that the distance between them. The distance here is 500. It is not about the height. It is not about the height of the building. Let's continue. An observer, so here, the observer is here, finds that the angle of elevation to the top of the building, this is the top of the building, and the angle of elevation, ya shabab, will be just like that, of course, because it is an angle of that, of course, upper than the horizontal line. To the top of the building is 24, so this is 24 degrees. And that the angle of elevation to the top of the flagpole atop the building is 27. So what we have more, we have on the top of the building, we have at the top, where is the pen? I need a pen, a different pen. Oh no, let me draw here. This is, let's say this is the flag here. We have a flag here. So now the angle of elevation to the top of this flag is also what? 27. So let's say this is the angle. I'm here. The angle of elevation will be like this. Is this, ya shabab, 27? Is this angle of elevation? Please, I'm asking.
It's 3, suppose, not an angle of elevation.
Yes, Shabab, this is not angle of elevation. The angle of elevation must has horizontal line. It will be like this. This is angle of elevation. When you have it like this, it is not. There is no horizontal. So indeed, this is not 27. Where is the 27 angle? Here is it. Here it is. This one, the whole one. This is 27, and you are right. What was there? It was just 3. Excellent, ya shabab. Now let's continue. What is the question? Find the height of the building. So the question is, what is this? Let's call it H. What is the height of the building? This is the first question. Then also, what is the height of the length? What is the length of the flagpole? The flagpole, we need also this. Let's call it whatever. Let's call it, for example, X. The question, what is X? What is H? How to do that, ya shabab? Let's call this from here to here. Let's call it K to make it easier. I think it is easier. Let's call this, the whole one is K. This will be what, ya shabab? This will be K minus H. So now we need to find H and K. To find H, it is not difficult at all to find K. Let me change the color. Okay, and go back. Now to find H, ya shabab, we will use this right triangle. Okay, and so easy. What is tan 24? Tan 24 degrees will be equals to H over 500. So we can from here find H, because you can find this and you can find from here H. Also for K. For K, what you can do? For K, you cannot use this, ya shabab. This triangle, we cannot use it because it is not right. It is more clear, I think, in the figure here. Look, this triangle, you cannot use it. It is useless. You cannot use it because it is not triangle. Right. Now you can use the bigger one. The bigger one, you can use it. The bigger one is, of course, what? From the bigger one, what you can have? Tangent of 27 equals to K over 500. So from here, you can find K. From here, you can find H. And if you have K and you have H, which is the height of the building. The length of the flag will be, of course, K minus H. And that's it. The detailed solution is here. So we need to practice by solving some old exam questions. Let me, the summary is here, Shabab. So you need to know what are the values and what is the ratios, and most importantly, of course, the angle of elevation, the angle of depression. So let's solve this one together, please. Think about it. If the angle of depression from the top of a 200 feet tower, so we have here a tower, this is the ground, this is a tower that its height is 20. If the angle of depression from the top, this is the top of the building, 20 feet tower, it means that the height of the tower is 20 feet. To a ship, this is a ship on the ocean. So the angle of depression to the ship on the ocean is theta. So is this theta, Shabab? Does he mean this? Is it theta, this one? I'm asking. Is this theta?
Where exactly? The sign?
Theta, this is theta. Where I wrote it. Is this theta or not? Is this theta that he is talking about? This is the angle of depression. The angle of depression is theta?
Yes, yes, doctor. Because he said depression.
No, the answer is no, no, no.
Angle of depression. Sorry, angle of depression.
Ya Shabab, where is the horizontal line? I told you always, when you have angle of depression or angle of elevation, you must have a horizontal line. So this is never ever cannot be angle of depression. So where is the angle of depression? Always to have the angle of depression or the angle of elevation, draw a line from the eye of the observer. You are sitting here. Now, the angle of the theta is here. This is theta. Now, this is angle of depression. Now, let's continue. What he told me, that sine theta, he didn't give me theta. He just said that sine theta is 5/13. Then he asks, find the distance from the ship to the base. This is the ship, this is the base. Find, let's call it x. So this is also x, this is also 200. So we have here two triangles to work on. You can work on this one or this one. By the way, this is also theta because they are, of course, alternative angles. So I did solve this for you, Shabab, with details here. Look. So this is how to translate this to a figure. Khalas, you don't need now this. After you draw this, no need. You are ready now to solve. Just you need to add something here. That what is sine theta? Sine theta is 5/13. Now here, how to find x, ya Shabab? Again, this is theta. From this or from this, how to find theta? You will use what? You will use tangent. Tangent theta equals to what? 200 over x, the opposite over the adjacent. From here, we can find x. The problem is, what is tan theta? How to find tan theta? Tan theta, you can find it from here, from this. Okay? So what you will do, you will just draw the information. He told you that sine theta is 5/13, so you will draw another triangle because the ratio here is different, 5/13. So this is the opposite, this is the opposite, this is the adjacent. Here the opposite, Shabab, is 200. So it is just the ratio of it. So it is not the same. So this is 5/13. The ratio is the ratio at the end is the same, but the length of the sides is not the same. So this will be 5/13. From here we can find tan. Who can tell me how to find tan? To find tan, you need, of course, to find the adjacent. This one. How to find it, Shabab? It is the square root of 13 squared minus 5 squared. It is the square, but check that it is 140. It is 12. And always, Shabab, when you have 5 and 13, this will be 12, of course. If the opposite, if the hypotenuse is 13, the bigger one, 13, 12, 5. Now you can from here find what is tan. Tangent is 5/12. Now come here, both instead of tangent 5/12, you can solve it now. Multiply both sides, cross multiply, you can find x. This is x, and the right answer is C. The solution also is here, Shabab. You can practice and check again. I'd like also to solve one more for you, Shabab. It is important to have this, and even if we spend one more minute. If the angle, again, we have, ya shabab, here a ground, let's say this is the ground. From the angle of elevation, from the top of a short building, this is a short building. The angle of elevation from the top of a short building to the top of a tall building is 60. So we have here a tall building. So if the angle of elevation is what? Is 60. So this means what? You need, ya shabab, to draw a line, as I told you. Always draw a horizontal line. So this is 60. Now we stopped here. Let's continue. While the angle of depression to the bottom of the tall, this is the bottom of the tall building, is 30. So the angle now from here to here, it is 30. So it is not this one, ya shabab. No, it is this one. It must have a horizontal side. Now, if the shorter building is 20, so this is 20, which means this also 20. If the shorter building is 20 meter high, then what is the height of the taller building? So the question is, what is the height, the whole height here? So it is enough if you know how to find this. Let's call it y, the distance from here to here, it is y. So you can find the height of the building. Now the question is how to find y. You know that it is clear that, let's call this x, ya shabab, because we need it. So indeed, y, to find y, you will use the tan. Tan of 60 equals to y over x. Okay, the question is, what is x? To find x, we will use this triangle. This is 30, also this is 30, ya shabab. So to find x, what you will do, you will use what? You will use tangent of 30. Tangent of 30 equals to what? The opposite over the adjacent, 20 over x. From here, you can find x. Because you tangent of 30 is what, ya shabab? And tan of 60, you know what they are. From here, you know what is x. So you will solve it and find what is x. Come back here, put x, and you will find y. I think the process is clear. I will leave it for you, shabab. Work on this triangle or on this one, but not on the bigger one. The bigger one is not a right triangle. This is enough for today, shabab, and I'll stop here, inshallah, and see you tomorrow. Don't forget that we have, inshallah, a quiz tomorrow.